I'll just introduce myself. My name is Dorothy Mitchell, and I work for a company called CACI, and we have been responsible for developing the DAS3 software. We've been working very closely with WSP, and we have Adam Hill on the phone call as well. Adam has been working in WSP to help the refresh of the departures manual and help prioritise that functionality in the DAS3 software. So Adam will also be around for the questions at the end of the session if you have anything focused on that. So the agenda today will very lightly touch what has been covered in the departures manual refresh and then talk about DAS3. I'll talk a little bit about the different user roles and process in DAS3, and then we'll start to get into structures-specific content. So we'll be looking at structure keys in DAS3, how are they brought into the system, how are they used in the system, and then I will go into an actual demonstration of DAS3. Again, I'm going to focus on the use of what is different for structures within DAS3 during that demonstration. Then I'll talk a bit about training materials, some common questions about how to use DAS3, and then we'll have some time at the end for questions. So we start, as always, with a safety moment. So I just wanted to bring up a safety moment, which is about getting moving during the working day. So we have some facts here about sitting down during the working day and really reinforcing the fact it doesn't just affect our legs. You can see here that your calorie dropping burns 1 per minute, and after 24 hours, insulin drops by 24%. You can see on the diagram, it impacts your head, lungs, arms, stomach. So it's a wide, extensive impact across our bodies. So we should all try and get up and get moving where possible. Some suggestions from Public Health England are to set reminders to get up and take a break, to take phone calls standing, and to try and have walking meetings where possible. So first of all, let's take a look at the departures manual refresh. So this has been refreshed with 4 key objectives in mind: to reduce the end-to-end time taken to determine departures, to improve the timeliness of submission for departures to better manage project delivery risks, to improve the quality of departures and, in doing so, reduce the number of rejections, and to improve visibility for all stakeholders throughout the departure process. So this is about allowing designers all the way through to specialists to be able to see and access the same data. So what have we done based on this? 2 key things. The new departures manual, which has now been published, and we'll show you how to access that manual later. And also the new DAS3 software, departures approval system. So what is DAS3? There are some key benefits here on the screen about DAS3. I'm only going to call out some of the most important ones, which is that DAS3 is replacing WebDAS and DAS2. We support Firefox and Chrome, but it is not supported in Internet Explorer. And there are some key benefits from the system, such as improved efficiency, collaboration, accessibility, and also email notifications. So when you have a departure assigned to you in DAS3, you get an automatic email notification, so you can very easily see what's assigned to you. Some of the benefits of the system, though, will become much clearer during the demonstration. So the release schedule for DAS3. As I'm sure many of you know, we have released DAS3 to all other disciplines: pavements, VRS, ITS, safe roads, environment, drainage, and geotechnic. The release for these disciplines was completed by April. We have since been working on the additional functionality that's required for structures, and that's primarily focused on the ability to add a structure key to a departure. We have now completed that functionality, and as a result, we have a go-live date for structures of the 5th of August. So I'm going to look briefly now at the user roles and process within the DAS3 tool, and this is reflective of the new departures manual. So if you require any more information, this can all be found in the departures manual. Many of these user roles are the same, and you will already know them. So we have the designer, who identifies a departure and implements the determination of a departure, and the proposer. You are allowed many designers for an application, but only one proposer. And the proposer is a senior technical expert who oversees a departure and then submits it for appraisal. They verify that applications are assessed and fully justified prior to submission. So this role is really focused on that piece around quality, ensuring that all applications that are submitted have passed through a senior technical expert and are of high quality. The project manager, they authorize the submission of a departure and they determine the departure based on the technical specialist recommendation. The SSP, they are the initial point of contact for safety and engineering standards for a departure. They assign the technical specialist and the authorizing signatory for the departure. The technical specialist, they provide a technical review and recommendation for the departure, and they may assign advisory specialists when required. So these could be people such as external consultants who you would like to provide advisory comments and recommendations. And then the authorizing signatory. Previously, these were called the authorizing officer in structures, and they are responsible for authorizing the recommendation from the specialist and pushing that through to the project manager, who then determines the departure. So if we look on a timeline, we have a compulsory role, which is the proposer. They can submit the application to the project manager. The project manager is compulsory as they appraise the application. The SSP, who then reviews and assigns the specialist, and the authorizing signatory, who submits the recommendation to the project manager, and repeatedly they're the project manager for the determination. Some of the other roles are optional roles. For example, the designer. The designer and the proposer could be the same user, and that's why the designer is listed as optional here. And secondly, we have the technical specialist and the advisory specialist. So the technical specialist also could be the same as the authorizing signatory. This is because DAS3 is used across all disciplines, so we have to account for the way different disciplines perform the review process. In some disciplines, they do not require the two-step approach of technical specialist and then authorizing signatory, so they only assign one user who performs both roles. In the case of structures, usually you would want to apply all of these roles, so they're all there and available. And the same is true there of the advisory specialists. So let's take a look now at the process. Again, this is very similar to the existing process. It's just slightly updated to reflect the new manual. And this timeline that you see is reflected in the DAS3 software itself, so you can very quickly see where your departure is in this timeline. So we start in the status need identified, where the designer creates and edits the application. And then the proposer submits this application to the PM for appraisal. Then the project manager performs an appraisal and supports the submission of the departure. In this state, they may select to predetermine a departure based on the technical specialist's recommendation. And we'll talk a bit about that in the demonstration. Then we have the DAS admin check, and this is where the DAS admin team will go in and validate the departure. They won't check any technical content, but they will check key things such as the PIN, the standard the departure is raised against, and do any sanity checks such as what attachments are included and that sort of thing. This is the same DAS admin check that they perform in the WebDAS tool. Then we move to the specialist section. Firstly, the SSP is able to comment and review on the departure and then assign a specialist. Then the specialists. The technical specialist can provide a review and recommendations and engage any advisory specialist. Then the authorizing signatory submits it to project manager for determination. And then we have the project manager determining the departure, taking us to the final status of determined. As I mentioned, all of this content is referring back to the departures manual in sections 2 and 3 specifically, and I will show you how to access that a bit later. You can access it via the tool. So if you do have any questions or queries on the different responsibilities or permissions for each role, then that is the place to take a look. So now we're going to talk a bit more about specifically for structures in DAS3. And as a result, that's going to be focused on structure keys. So the first question I have here is DAS3 integrated with SMIS and IAMS? The short answer is no. DAS3 is not integrated with SMIS and IAMS. This approach has been agreed with the structures management, and this is to allow us to release DAS3 to structures, and you'll be able to use and benefit from the new system. We may look at an integration in the longer term, but at the moment, in the short term, there is no integration. So that naturally leads to the question, how are structure keys brought from SMIS into DAS3? Structure keys are uploaded to DAS3 via an extract taken from SMIS. This is performed by the DAS admin team. They manually extract a report of the structure keys from SMIS on a weekly basis, and they then upload that file to DAS3, which absorbs all of the structure keys. So once this has been performed, those structure keys become available in DAS3. What if a structure key is missing in DAS3? This could occur because of the weekly frequency of the upload. So when a structure key is added to SMIS, it is not automatically added to DAS3 because there is no integration. They are uploaded via a weekly extract. If a structure key has been added to SMIS and a new departure has been raised for this before the weekly upload, then it will not be available in DAS3 because it has been created in SMIS, but the weekly upload has not occurred. So in this scenario, we have an agreed approach. Firstly, when creating the departure, the designer can just put a placeholder structure key or location in and then populate the content of the submission. And once the weekly upload has occurred, they can then change that location to be the correct structure key. If there is an urgent situation, this can be handled on a case-by-case basis by contacting the DAS admin team, but this approach has been agreed in general as the weekly frequency should account for most cases. So now we're going to do a demonstration of the tool. Now, hopefully a lot of you have already seen either the previous webinars, been to a roadshow, and so will have seen quite a lot of this content. So what I'm going to do is go through an entire demonstration, but focus primarily on the areas that are specific to structures. As I'm doing this, please rest assured that I have created a suite of YouTube tutorials which show you how to do everything in DAS3. And as a result, you needn't make notes or try to memorize everything. So I've made a list of scenarios we're going to cover, and the first of those scenarios is this page. How to create a departure and add a structure key, how to edit a departure and add attachments to it, how to assign users to a departure, what is the diary, and then how to export and submit a departure. So I'm going to move to the tool now to do these scenarios, and then we'll return to do the second set of scenarios, which is focused on the review section of the departure. So to start with, we're going to look at how to create, edit, and add attachments to a departure. So I have open now on the screen the departure approval system, DAS3. DAS3 is accessed via a web browser, and so you are able to log in the web browser like this. You do not need to connect to VPN or Citrix. I'm going to log in, first of all, as a test designer. And I'm taken to the home page in DAS3. Across the top, we have a header bar, which is showing me home. That's the page that will always navigate to this page. Search, which I will demonstrate later, and some key other information. If we look at the main screen of the departure approval system, on the left, I have my filters. We have waiting on me, and it's displaying the 4. And that means it's returning 4 departures here. This is returning 4 departures where the action is assigned to me as a user. So I need to do something to progress this departure. We also have I'm involved in, and this shows 64. So if I was to click this, it shows me 64 departures where I'm involved in that departure. So for example, perhaps I was the designer on this departure and it's now been determined. That means I'm not actually, nothing's waiting on me, but I still need access to that departure. We're going to create a new departure. And to do this, we press New Departure. We confirm that's what we'd like to do. And the departure screen is open here. On the left, we can see key data, and that's showing me the departure ID, revision number, the status, and assigned to. Underneath, we have the submission, diary, and specialist review. This is the navigation menu that you can click. The submission currently contains 3 areas: the departure progress, information, and locations. We'll start at the top here with departure progress. Here you can see the people who are assigned to the different user roles. We're working in a test environment, so you can see names such as test designer, but really this would say your first and last name, Dorothy Mitchell. And up here, where it says test, that would say your name that you're logged in as. So this would say Dorothy for me. And here is the timeline that I spoke about. So you can see a date and timestamp, and you can see what occurred at what point, and the future statuses that the departure has to move through. You can now move down to the departure information section. You can do this either by clicking on the navigation or by scrolling. In the departure information fields, we have a number of fields that contain essentially key data for the departure, and the designer and/or proposer should go through and populate these. I'm not going to spend too much time discussing these, but essentially these are the key information, and this will be verified by DAS admin. The fields that I'm populating are available in the departures manual, so if you want any clarification, we have 2 areas for that. We have the little tips here. So departure title is to provide a concise title for the departure that can be easily identified on dashboards. And also you can refer to the departures manual. So I'm going to enter a title. And the next field is standard. So this is where I choose the standard that my departure to be raised against. I click the pen, and I'm presented here with all of the standards. We have the ability to search here, so you could search easily across all of the 5,828 departures rather than scrolling through them all. And then when you find the departure that you would like, you click it. Sorry, not the departure, the standard that you would like, you click it, and it will expand to give you the full information so that you can be sure you're selecting the right standard. You press select standard, and the information is populated. Now I will populate the year of issue, the clause and paragraph that the departure is against, and now the project information. This is the PIN for the departure. So we have in here a number of different options of the different pins, which again you can search for or simply click. You press Save Project Information, and again this is populated here. Now I choose the form of contract, provide the added value, select the template for the departure application, and now I have product safety risk category and departure criticality risk category here. So these should be populated from the drop-downs. Now I provide a summary of the departure. And we have 2 tick boxes available. This departure is an innovation and confidential. Now we're coming to the area where we can see the structure key. So currently in DAS 3, this add using structure key is not visible. We only have visible add location. And if you press this, you are able to give a description. So if I was to say, for example, a roundabout in Bristol, and then I have to provide an OSG B36 grid reference. You can provide multiple locations by continuing to press this many times, and you can delete them by using the bin icon. Since we're doing a structures departure, I instead want to add a structure key. So I press Add Using Structure Key. And I'm provided here a pop-up with all of the structure keys available. These structure keys have been imported through the weekly upload from the SMIS extract. And again, we have some information. The structure key, its description, easting, and northing. And if you click that, it will expand in the same way and give you the full information. You are able to search here across the structure key or the description. Currently, you cannot search across easting and northing. So, for example, I'm going to search for number 62, and I'm returned 2 results, structure key 62, and I'm also returned structure key 79. But that is because the key search that I've searched for, 62, is actually shown there in the description. So when you search, it searches across both these fields. I'm going to choose structure key 62, and I'm going to press select structure key. And you can see here that this has been added to my location. If I wanted to change this structure key, again, I could either press add using structure key to add multiple, or I could press delete, which would delete it, and I could add another. Now I've done that, I press begin drafting, and I'm prompted that I'm moving this departure to the next stage, submission and preparation, and that will need, to go further than that stage, it will need HE project manager support, so it is encouraged to engage them as soon as possible. I add a comment and press confirm and close. You can see the timelines automatically updated. What happened is 2 new sections have been generated: submission, benefits, impacts, and risks. If I click on these, this is where the main body of the application goes. And I can edit away by just typing here, and I have a toolbar available. I can insert tables, images, highlight, equations, and many of you will recognize this functionality from our software cars. So this is how I edit an application, and I'm going to insert an image that I have on my desktop of roundabouts. The next scenario we wanted to look at was how to add attachments. So let's say that I've inserted this image of a roundabout, but I also want to attach it so everyone has access to the raw file. I do that on the right-hand side via the safety, no, it's a paperclip, it's not a safety pin, via the paperclip. I click it, and here I can either drag and drop or click to upload. So I click it, I choose the roundabout that I inserted, and it's attached here. I can provide a description by clicking in this cell. This is a roundabout. And I can either delete the attachment or download it using the download button. If you're a specialist and you are reviewing this and there are many attachments attached, you can press the download all button, and that will download all of the attachments rather than you having to do it individually. Equally, you are able to multi-upload. So if you're a designer and you want to multi-upload many, then you can do that here. So if we return to my scenarios, we have covered the first 3, how to create a departure and add a structure key, how to edit a departure, and how to add attachments. So now we're going to look at the next 4, which are assigning users, what is the diary, exporting and submitting a departure. So if I return to departure, we have open here, and scroll back up to the departure progress section, currently you can see that the proposer is unassigned. And as a result, I don't have a submit button. There is no way for me to submit this application through to the PM. That's because only the proposer has those rights. So I press the assign button, and I get a pop-up, which is saying I may set the following roles. Project manager, specialist submission point, and technical specialist roles may be assigned prior to PM to facilitate early engagement, but these should only be assigned when they've been confirmed. This really is to ensure that designers only assign HE users that they know are accurate for the application. And so if you tick this tick box, those roles are shown. We want to select the proposer role. So I click in here, and I'm provided a drop-down. And when I type, this drop-down is limited, and I can choose the name of my proposer. I'm going to assign myself as the proposer, essentially to avoid logging in and logging out with different users, and I press assign. But actually, before I press assign, I'll just show you that the designer, you can have multiple designers, so these are shown slightly differently, and you can delete designers by pressing the cross. If you want to change a proposer, you can simply delete the name you've chosen and type a different name. And this can be done at any time by pressing the button and getting this assign middle for any user. I assigned the wrong one there. I assigned test proposer, and as a result, I don't have the submit button because I'm the test designer. So I'm going to change that to be test designer, press assign, and now I have the button submit available. Before I do that, let's just look at the diary we spoke about. And to get there, I navigate by going to the diary on the left-hand side. The diary is the area in DAS3 where everything is audited. This is an audit trail. So you can see time and date stamps and what has occurred when. Test designer has been assigned to the role proposer just 1 minute ago. And you can also add comments directly into the diary here. This means it's a great place for correspondence. And a really key thing is that all of this is exported. So if you'd like to export the departure, you can use the export button on the right-hand side. Press export, and an HTML file is exported and downloaded to your machine. If I click this, you can see that all content is exported. Here we can see the standard that it's raised against, the risk categories that I raised. And if we scroll down, the structure key and its location, and continue to scroll, and you can see all the information I enter, including images. If we scroll right to the bottom, the diary is also exported. So this is a great place to raise all of your correspondence against the departure because it's a very consistent way to export this. Returning to the departure, I'm now ready to submit it. So I go to Submission, Departure Progress, and I'll use the button Submit. This is warning me that I'm recommending approval of the departure application, and I'm happy with the content and the quality that's being submitted. And I now need to select a project manager, who is the project manager of my project. Enter a comment, and press Submit. Returning to the scenarios, we have now done these four: finding a user, what's the diary, exporting a departure, and submitting a departure. The next set of scenarios are focused more on the specialist angle. So those roles that we've just talked about, we'll be looking at the project manager, looking at the designer and the proposer role. Now we're going to look at searching for a departure, how to review a departure and its attachments. For the project manager, how to support or reject a departure that's in PM appraisal stage. And for the specialist, how to provide comments and recommendations. And finally, again for the PM, how to determine a departure. This departure we've just submitted to the user Test Project Manager. So I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log in as that user. Again, this is a test account, so this is a little bit strange, but here you would just log in with your email address. And if we return to the home page, what you can see is on the Waiting on Me section, I have this structured training, which is the departure we created today, and it's in stage PM appraisal. So if I want to open that, I simply click it and the departure will open. So this Waiting on Me is a really quick way to see what actions you need to take on departures. We have the search functionality. To access this, click Search in the top banner. And you can see on the key screen what we have is search field here. This is where the search results will be output, and we have filters on the side. In this example, I'm going to search for the word test to demonstrate the functionality, and you can see all of the departures with the word test are being returned. This is searching across the document information page, not the content of the departure. So that key area where you insert different fields such as clause and so on, it's searching across that page. You can then apply filters to this. You could select a specific status, a standard, or you could select people that are a particular role. So you may like to say, where Dorothy Mitchell is designer, which ones are in PM appraisal. Up here on the right, you can select the columns that are displayed in this screen. So if we click this, you can see what columns are being displayed. So you can very quickly tailor this output information you need. Perhaps you only want to see the title and the pin and the status. You could change these to do that. And we also have an export button, which exports the information you see here to CSV. So if you need to do some external reporting based on search, you can export this data and use that to inform your reporting. If we return to the home page, we're going to open up that demo departure and appraise it. So I am the project manager and it's in stage PM appraisal. And as a result, I have two buttons available, reject and support. To review the departure, I simply scroll down and I can see all the contents, but this is read only for me. And I can see the departure, I can see the attachments and download them as we saw before. If I rejected the departure, I have to provide a comment for that reason and then press confirm and close. If I instead want to support it, I get this pop-up. This is the piece where project managers can do predetermination of a departure. What this means is that they have three tick boxes: approve, approve with conditions, and reject. If I tick approve and the technical specialist and authorizing signatory recommend approval, it will automatically be determined as approval. If I tick reject and it is recommended that the departure is rejected, it will be automatically rejected. This is additional functionality. The project manager does not have to do this, and they can leave them all unticked, and that will mean that it comes back to them for determination as usual. Press confirm and close. And on the timeline, we can see that I supported the application and it's gone through the DAS admin check. So now, if we look at the scenarios, we have covered search, reviewing and looking at attachments, and performing the PM appraisal. So we're on to the SSP and specialist review. So I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log in as a test SSP user. And you'll see that I've made some scenarios in state already. So if we return to the home page, waiting on me, we have got a demo here, which is for the 19th of July for structures, and it's in status specialist submission point. So I'm the SSP, I'm opening it up, and I'm able to review the departure in the exact same way as we saw before. But I have enabled to me the specialist review section, which I'm navigating to on the left. And this is showing specialist review comments. This is where all specialists leave their comments. We've created different sections for different types of specialists, and you can click in here and leave a comment if required. You have all of the same editing functionality that we saw before. These are just placeholders. They can be deleted or changed, so you may like to add your name, or perhaps you have multiple specialists and you want a different row for each one. This is all a template and can be edited and made to fit your needs. So once the SSP has left their comment, they return to submission, and they have a button saying Choose Specialist. This is where they assign the specialists. They can name a technical specialist, and you'll notice it's exactly the same as the assign functionality we looked at, working in exactly the same way. And they can assign an authorizing signature. They provide a comment, and press assign. If we just review here on the people, you can see that the names have been populated here. And those users will have been sent an automatic email, which will say, Dorothy, you have been assigned to the departure 413, and it will provide a link directly into this departure, so they can very quickly get there. When users are assigned to a departure, if there's a key change to a departure, such as a status change, a request for rework, they are also sent a notification. So now I'm going to log out and log in as the technical specialist. Now I'm providing a demonstration here. So the process I'm going to do for a review is very basic, but hopefully it will illustrate the functionality, and you can see how this can be used to perform your reviews. So I'm going to navigate the specialist review section, and I'm going to leave my specialist review. I'm going to insert a bullet pointed list, and I'm also going to insert an equation. If I scroll down, I have an ability to leave a recommendation, specialist review recommendation, and I've got 4 buttons available. Rework required, rejection, conditional approval, and approval. So these three are the existing options. Rework required is a new state, and what that does is send it back to the designer and proposer for rework. So this is really for when perhaps there's a small tweak that needs doing, perhaps there's a missing attachment. You don't want to reject the whole departure, but it isn't okay to go through. In here, you can state your rework requirements, press rework required, it goes right back to the proposer, and they then resubmit it. Two key things are that when you send it back for rework, the clock on SES is reset. It's reset to 0 because it's effectively you're considering a new application. Additionally, when they resubmit that rework, it doesn't go through the PM again, it comes straight back to you. The PM and the SSP are sent an email to let them know, but it's really just to try and improve efficiencies there. I'm going to suggest approval, and I have a button, Send to Authorizing Signatory. I press it, and I'm sending this to the authorizing signatory. And I press Send Recommendation. So now I'm going to log in as that authorizing signatory. And the review process for the authorizing signatory works in the same way. So they can review the content, the application, the attachment. They can then export it if they would wish. Anyone can export it. And then they open the specialist review area and they leave their comments here. Now, as I'm the authorizing signatory, I have the ability to change the recommendation. This is because the recommendation is one overall recommendation for the entire application. It is not per user. So all the comments are per user, but the recommendation is final. And every time that this is changed by somebody and what they submit, that is stored automatically in the diary. So there is an audit trail for that. So I'm going to recommend conditional approval, going to change it to conditional approval and press Make Recommendation. And I'm warned that that is what I'm doing, recommending it's approved for conditions, and press Confirm and Close. Now we're through to the final stage, determination. And that means that it's been moved back to the project manager. So I'm going to log out and log in as the project manager. If we return to the home page, on the home page here, you can see it's here, Structures Training. I open it up. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. That's the initial one that we did. The one that we're looking at now is this one here, Structures 19th of July, and it's in stage PM determination. I open it up, and I have a button, Determine. This takes me through to the Specialist Review Comments area, so I can see the different comments everybody left, and I can see the recommendation that they left. And I have three buttons, Reject, Approve with Conditions, or Approve. Now, Reject and Approve are shown in red because they disagree with the recommendation. As PM, I'm still able to press those because there may be, for example, a commercial reason I want to disagree. If I press this, I get a big red warning saying you are disagreeing and need to provide a reason for that. If I instead agree, which is what we'll do, I am agreeing with the conditions, and I leave a comment saying happy to agree with recommendation. I press Confirm and Close. And what you can see, the timeline is completed and the departure has been approved with conditions. On the home page, it is no longer shown in Waiting on Me because it's not waiting on me, there's no action waiting on me. But if I move to I am involved in and filter for the number 19 because that's the title, you can see here it's still displayed, so I can access it at any time, and I can see the workflow state. It's also shown here the time in SES, so we can see that from it entered and left SES within 3 days. And when this is in progress, there's a column Time Remaining in SES, so essentially a countdown clock there. And those clocks that I mentioned were reset to 0 if you send for rework. There's also the functionality to make revisions. I won't demonstrate that now, but there is a video on how to do that. And hopefully that will, if you have any questions about that, let me know. So in terms of help content, we have the help menu. And in there, we have the videos that I've mentioned. And this opens up this video channel on YouTube, where I've made a number of different videos for different roles. So you open up the playlist that you want. So let's pretend that we are a SSP, a specialist. Let's be a specialist. I'm going to just pause this. And on the right-hand side, you can see there are 20 videos provided for specialists and how to use DAS3. So how do I request rework from a designer? What's the diary? How do I assign users? And they're very short videos, sort of up to 2 minutes, so you can quickly get what you need. The help menu contains other content. This is a link to the actual departures manual itself. And there's other information, such as briefing notes and FAQs. So we have completed the scenarios now, and all the content we covered and more is available on that YouTube channel. We've just talked through this, and there is a DAS admin email address here, departures@highwaysengland.co.uk. So we come to the final section before questions. How do you access DAS3? So if you have an enabled WebDAS or DAS2 account, you will automatically be created a DAS3 account. If you don't have access, then email the DAS admin team at the email address shown. And what you will have is when Structures goes live on the 5th of August, you will receive an automated email which will provide you how to log in, what the link is for DAS3, and any information you require. DAS3 should be used for all new departures. If you are creating revision of departure that within DAS2, this is considered a new application, so it should also be raised in DAS3. Any departures that have been created and submitted and therefore exist in DAS2 need to complete their life cycle in DAS2. So there's a very clear rule of distinction. Anything new, including revisions, is created in DAS3. Anything that already exists is going to be completed in DAS2. And that is because in the future, we are going to migrate all departures from DAS2 to DAS3. This has not happened at the moment, but we are in the process of designing that solution. So what that means is that right now, before we complete this migration, any departures that have been created in DAS2 need to be searched and viewed in DAS2. Anything that's created in DAS3 needs to be searched and viewed in DAS3. If you search for a DAS2 departure in DAS3, it will not be present, and vice versa. Once we have performed the migration, everything will be available in DAS3. We are currently working with HE's IT partner to basically formalize that migration, and as soon as we have any information on that, we will communicate it with you. So some key points. Structures is going to be released on the 5th of August into DAS3, and you will receive an automatic email of how to log in and your user account information. It is supported in Firefox and Chrome, not in Internet Explorer. And there is a wide range of tutorials and support available on YouTube. I appreciate this is a lot of information to take in, but hopefully those resource materials will really help out. And then we have got some key emails on the screen. So departures@highwaysengland.co.uk is the DAS admin team in Highways England. That is Homie and Sally for those of you who know them. So if you need an account, if you have any queries, please contact them. We also have another email address, iig_das@caci.co.uk. And if you have any feedback, software problems, suggestions, please email this address. And there is also, in DAS3, contact support button. If you have a bug or a problem with the tool, I advise pressing this button because it helps. It essentially takes some of the variables going on in the software, and it will help us diagnose your problem quicker. But it fundamentally goes to the same email, so let us know via that email.